once again, and welcome back to the Dragon Cast podcast, where we talk about 4 episodes of Dragon Ball and try to very, very slowly get through this quite long series, considering there's quite a lot of episodes. I'm still here, and of course, joining me as always is Halcyon.
Yes, I am also here. I don't know. I think we're making pretty good progress. I mean, we're already pretty deep into the Red Ribbon Army arc, and I mean, like, it doesn't even feel like that long ago that we started this podcast.
Yeah, true. It's just, well, I mean, the Red Ribbon Army especially goes for quite a long time. I mean, like...
Yeah, it's a long one.
Yeah, and then we've got, obviously, because it's like, if you just think about it, we've got the Red Ribbon Army, then we've got to do the 22nd Budokai, then we've got to do Piccolo Daimao, then we've got to do more filler and stuff, and then the 23rd Budokai, then we've got to start with Z, and then we've got to go through 291 episodes of Z, then 64 of GT, like... Not that simple. Oh, and the wedding dress filler and all that kind of stuff. Well, it's not.
Garlic Jr. Yeah.
And Garlic Jr. I was actually thinking about that. I don't think I've actually watched the Garlic Jr. arc from start to finish ever.
Huh. That's really weird, considering that's such a Gohan-centric little filler arc. I figured that would have been your jam.
There is a difference between, oh, hey, I might do something because Gohan's there, and also, hey, it's Garlic Jr. I've heard horror stories and other stories. And hey, I'm watching Kai anyway because let's just get through the story and read the manga instead.
Right. Okay, so, like, Garlic Jr. is an interesting one for me because I've never disliked it, and I didn't know that everyone hated that arc until years later. I'm like, is the Garlic Jr. arc bad? I don't remember it being bad, and yeah, it's just, like, I've never... Like, last time I watched it, I still liked it, so I'm interested to see what my opinion's going to be this time around. If I'm going to go back and, like, this is going to be the time where I go, this arc was dog shit, or if I'm going to be like, yeah, I still like it.
I mean, don't worry, you have, like, 2 years to think about it, so don't worry about it.
Right? Oh my god, that is going to be like 2 years, if not more.
Alright, well anyway, so this episode we're going to be covering episodes 37 till episode 40. So this pretty much covers almost to the end of the Muscle Tower stuff. The Muscle Tower stuff, I think, ends episode 41, so this is a pretty big
close.
chunk. Yeah, and this is a big chunk of the Muscle Towers, like kind of the sort of important stuff, the stuff that are kind of actually important for the climax of the Muscle Tower and kind of tying everything together to the very first part of the Red Ribbon Army out of the very many different parts of the Red Ribbon Army and yada yada yada. We're going to be here all day, so let's start at episode 37.
Yes. And the first thing I want to talk about is, okay, we kept talking about how the anime has a much more serious tone to it than the manga does. The manga tends to have a more carefree execution of this idea, like, yeah, for this story arc. And the anime staff really kind of, like, really leans into, this is an army, these are really scary people, they do really bad things. And like the kind of, just the terror they're wreaking across, like, like the world of Dragon Ball and like how normal people are dealing with it. And I feel like this episode also kind of continues that theme, where the very beginning of this episode you have, is he Colonel? What is he? Oh shit! What tells White's rank? General White.
I think it's General White. Yeah, I was also paying attention to, like, in the Japanese, because I was hearing them call him White Shogun. I'm like, oh, Shogun! I know what a Shogun is! That's like a Japanese thing! So, which is actually kind of interesting, considering that, like, I thought that the Red Ribbon Army is supposed to be kind of more Western, given that they all have, like, English names of colors for their title, their names, except for Murasaki, Murasaki is Japanese for purple, I think, so there's that, but yeah,
yes.
I think it's General White, to answer your question.
Yeah, okay, so yeah, General White, like he really builds up Murasaki as this deadly ninja. Like, he has, like, it goes into this kind of sequence where it's, like, all dark and shadows, and you see, like, ninjas getting slain by him, and just talking about, like, anyone who sees him will die, and blah, 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 and just really building him up as this dark, ominous figure. It's this really dark build-up once again to a gag character. Like, this is like the second time in this arc has done it. This is why I'm starting to feel this is an intentional thing. Because they did that with Silver. Silver got built up, really hyped up as going to be like, he's going to be this big bad motherfucker. And then Goku just swaps his tail at him and takes him out in a single tail swipe. And in this, it's once again like, big hype up for like this big serious dude. And he's kind of this goofball, ninja who's kind of incompetent. In the context of the story,
yeah, because I think the difference between like kind of like Silver and Murasaki is kind of like, yeah, they both kind of, Toei does the anime does the same thing for both those characters, where they try to kind of build them up and show basically how strong they are and how like strong they are by the comparison of like any other person, and then Goku just beats them easily. But I think the difference is like with Silver, it's like a kind of like a one shot like, oh, I mean, he's just some dude, and he's like the first guy that Goku's really facing, so he's not much. Mm. With Murasaki, it's like, his fight is actually really extended, but the fight is basically just like the gaggiest gag fight probably in the series. So it's like,
for the most part.
For the most part. Like, it is just a non-stop series of gags. So it's like, I think, I feel like in those cases, like, even if the anime is trying to communicate the same thing, I think those characters are quite different.
Mm-hmm. So, I was gonna say, Goku gets up to the floor where Murasaki is. And here, it's like completely pitch black, where that wasn't the case in the manga. So he shows up, it's completely pitch black, and if I remember correctly, like, Murasaki, like, throws, like, some kunai, some shuriken at him, and Goku dodges them. How does Goku see in the dark? He hasn't had that special training that he gets from Mr. Popo later in the series. Once again, the anime is showing flagrant disregard for the continuity, and for Goku's abilities. Why aren't more people complaining about this? Terrible, terrible, terrible writing all the way across. This is another example of why this is the worst anime ever and why this should have been the Hunter x Hunter cast from day one.
Ding!
But beyond that, but seriously though, it was cool, like, because they do kind of, they do extend a lot of stuff, but I feel like they extend it in kind of neat ways, like, because they're still trying to, keep that build up for Murasaki, and, he's kind of like ninjaing about throwing shuriken, and then, if I remember correctly, Goku just pegs him with a rock and just drops him out of a tree. Yeah, like, he's just like, he's like, I'm ninja, none who see me will, no one who sees my face will kind of return alive, sort of thing, and he's like, you'll never guess where I am, and then Goku, it's like, also gotta say, this is one of those times, so then, like, basically Murasaki starts just, like, running around, and then it's like, God, they start using these, like, repeated frames of, like, Murasaki jumping around and Goku searching for him, and, like, it used it, I feel like, a little bit too many times for my liking. I'm just like, oh my, how long are you going to be repeating these repeated frames until something actually happens? It was like, oh, that just, like, kind of took me out there. Like, repeated frames aren't bad, but they kept using it for so long. But, yeah, in the end, Goku's just, like, basically just manages to find him, and then Murasaki's like, how did you find me? She's like, I don't know, I'm just Goku. Pretty much, but... Okay, yeah, and then we see, we start getting into this Goku and Murasaki fight. Yeah, I always felt like this is like, just the gaggiest gag fight that the franchise really ever had, at least for a while. Yeah, honestly, I'm kind of in that same boat. It's one of my favorite gag fights, just because even with, like, the Muten Roshi versus Goku fight in the 23rd Tenkaichi Budokai, the 21st Tenkaichi Budokai, it's, there's some goofier moments, but a lot of it is played fairly straight. Here, this is just one goofball. Like, even, like, it's funny, because, like, the anime even, like, even though it starts at darker, it actually juxtaposes it with a really goofy scene because, when he gets pegged with the rock, Goku, I think, in the manga, actually just runs up on Murasaki. When Goku, like, runs up, Murasaki's already gone, but then, like, he finds, like, this ninja nudie pic.
Yeah.
That Murasaki apparently secretly took, And then Murasaki jumps out like, "Hey, give me that back!" and snatches it away from him. And he kind of reveals himself.
Yeah, and it's like, I was gonna say, yeah, that's another thing that the anime, yeah, basically, this was all, like, anime only, that, like, Ninja Murasaki is apparently, yeah, does seem to appreciate good girls kind of thing. That was, like, basically just...
Good girls, that's a great way to phrase that. He appreciates good girls. Not like, he's a porn enthusiast, but no, he appreciates good girls.
I'm trying to think of a good euphemism that wouldn't sound weird because I'm saying it, but it probably sounded weird regardless.
Let's say, like, calling them good girls just sounds really submissive.
I don't know. It's alright. I said it, so nothing is wrong. Everything is okay because it's a girl who said it. Don't worry. I no. But this is all that's all anime stuff. The manga doesn't really do that. But yeah, basically, the anime just added even more gags. They just added sexual gags, and God, there's so many gags. Like, I mean, like, so, there's like after. The next gag is that, like, Murasaki does a disappearing technique, and the disappearing technique is basically just camouflage of him getting a thing that looks like a tree and putting it against a tree. Except then he uses the wrong side, and the other side has a US flag on it for some reason.
Which 100% proves that the US does exist within the Dragon Ball world.
Yes, definitely. The Dragon Ball world definitely has an America, and probably... God, I don't know. People have probably used that as an excuse for something, haven't they?
Honestly, like, I always find... I actually have heard people argue that, like, that Dr. Slump and Dragon Ball can't actually take place in the same universe because Dr. Slump's world is structured like ours, where it has all of our countries, and Dragon Ball doesn't. And I'm like, but Dragon Ball clearly makes acknowledgement of other countries, and this is an example of one where it's just... Like, he just straight up, it is the American flag that he is holding up. And I love that gag, because it's like, "Can you find me, young little boy?" And he's just like, "You're right there." What? It's like, "You're behind the flag." Ugh. It's like, wait. And he flips it around. Like, I love how he doesn't just drop it and go, "Ah, shit." No, he flips it around. It's like, "Can you see me now?"
It's good. Although, yeah, I have to say my favorite gag is the one after that, where he's just like, "Okay, well, I've got an even better disappearing technique. Now, it'll be really good. So just go against that tree, close your eyes, and count to 30. And then Goku starts counting. And then he comes, and then, like, he starts counting, and he keeps going, and he goes like, 16, 17... 18? Wait, what comes after 18? I don't know. And then Murasaki's like, "God, wait, what? You don't know that?" Like, then Murasaki comes in and starts telling him how to count and what comes after 18, and then he's just like... Not
just that, though. Like, Goku catches him trying to hide himself in a boulder. Like a papier-mâché boulder-like thing. He's just like... He's got himself half covered in it when Goku turns around. He's just like, "You're not supposed to be looking!"
Yeah, exactly. And he's just like, and then Murasaki just plays on with it, because then he's just like, "Listen, I was gonna do this thing where I went and I hid myself under this boulder. It looks just like a boulder, see?" And then Goku looks, he's like, "Wow, it does look like a boulder. I would have totally been fooled." And he's like, "Okay, tell you what, let's try that again." And then they try again. He's like, "This time, count to 30. Do you know how to count to 30 this time?" Like, "Yes." "Okay, great. Now go. Just go." Like, I mean, like, just basically this entire fight, I feel like it basically just reminds me of like a comedy duo. Like, it feels like Goku and Murasaki are like a comedy duo, like kind of like a stand-up kind of thing. Like it feels
it's like the straight man and the dumb guy, and it's just
exactly.
It's a great little comedic bit that like their back and forth in this episode is some of the funniest material in Dragon Ball.
It's like I think there's like a Japanese term of it, like that's like a kind of Japanese sort of comedy. I think it's called like bokeh and tsukomi or something like that, and whereas like that's kind of like the sort of straight guy sort of like silly guy combo thing.
I know the routine you're talking about. I know it has a name, but I don't remember it.
But yeah, so it's like, okay, so then we try again, and then it's like count to 30 again. Goku tries to find Murasaki again, and then it's like he goes into that random weird Japanese inspired like house in the middle of a muscle tower, because it's an interesting landscape, obviously, although it's kind of odd that it's just there in the middle of muscle tower. But besides that, It's like he does that.
Well, I mean, it's Murasaki's thing. Like, you know, he's giving himself that home field advantage. Like,
I know, but
he's
it's
used
like
he's used to being like, you know, the ninja in the woods and blah blah blah.
of course,
like,
but it's like, of course, it does raise a bunch of questions. That it's like, what did he know that people like? Does he always prepare this because he knows that the only reason anyone would go to the fourth floor is because they want to fight him in ninja warfare? It's like it does raise a whole bunch of stupid questions, and obviously you don't really need to think about it too hard. But yeah, so then it's like you've got the thing where Goku's just looking around, and then it turns out Murasaki's next hiding technique is he's hiding at the bottom of the lake with his. See, it's like one of those things where it's like also because since he's supposed to be a ninja, I wonder if this is supposed to be like kind of a kind of sort of parody of a ninja kind of idea, because it's like he calls it in the subs, he's like saying, oh, you know, you'll never find me with like my snorkel technique, and it's like the way he's saying it in Japanese, he's like you know, something no jutsu, and I'm just like, well, first of all, I'm thinking of Naruto, and second of all, like the idea where it's just like you just like say something no jutsu, and then like suddenly it's like that's a ninja thing, so it's like, you know, it's my snorkel no jutsu, like, you know, something like that.
Yeah, no, that is exactly what they are doing here.
Okay.
They're just...
I wasn't sure because, like, the subs didn't make it as obvious, but yeah.
Yeah, because I think that also comes from the fact that, like, the whole no jutsu thing, like, that didn't really come into prominence in, like the Western lexicon until Naruto became a thing. And then everything was something no jutsu. And even Naruto makes fun of the whole... like no jutsu thing by having him like turn into like a sexy girl and things like that, where it's just like he has like all these joke jutsus on top of his actual jutsu. Yeah,
true. But yeah, and so the way that Goku deals with Murasaki hiding at the bottom of the lake, he realizes it pretty quickly. He finds hot tea and he pours hot tea into the snorkel, and it's like, oh god. Okay, there's a lot of really messed up, like, a lot of these gags are kind of really painful. Can I also mention that?
Yeah, no, like Goku is pretty fucking brutal with some of these gags that he pulls out. And okay, something I wanted to bring up is, in the anime, he actually, like, looks around for Murasaki a little bit. Like, you know, he's, like, looking, like, he finds, like, the fake rock, looks under it again, walks around. He actually goes inside the little ninja hut. And... like, him going inside the ninja hut actually sets up him finding the teapot and him seeing the wooden shoes. Because those are two things that he's going to bring in later. Where in the manga...
I didn't think about the shoes. That's cool.
Yeah, whenever he goes into, like, the outhouse, the wooden shoes are in there. And then whenever he's, like walking around just the little hut in general, he sees the teapot or whatever that's sitting on the stove. And that actually kind of gives you context for, like, oh, Goku knows where these things are. Because in the manga, he just walks off panel, runs outside the hut with the teapot, and it's just a thing of, like, how did he know that was in there? And the same thing with the wooden shoes. Like, where did he suddenly get these wooden shoes? And the anime actually took, like, you know, like, it adds a little bit of filler to contextualize, like, why Goku knows where these things are and where he got them from. So I thought that was a nice little touch on the animation staff's part, where it's like, they didn't have to do that, but they noticed that was something that wasn't acknowledged, so then they shoved it in there. But yeah, he just fucking pours that water down his fucking throat.
Yeah, no,
Jesus
it's like,
Christ.
Oh god, like...
Goku, what the fuck, man? Also, I'm flipping through the manga, and his snorkel jutsu is actually translated as cloak of water.
Huh. Interesting.
So yeah, that's how Viz went about that. Yeah, because once again, it was before the whole jutsu craze. I guarantee if they went and retranslated it now, it would be something along the lines of snorkel no jutsu.
That would make it really funny nowadays, because, like, yeah, at the very least, if you watch Naruto, that kind of joke. But yeah, I'm gonna make more Naruto jokes before this is over. Don't worry. But yeah, so then after that, then he's like, okay, fine, we won't do disguising anymore or hiding. We're going to do a race of speed, and then obviously, like, basically any normal person challenging Goku to a race of speed is kind of like dumb because Goku's catching up. So then Murasaki throws those ninja...
Yeah, the little ninja spike things.
I wrote this down because the subs briefly wrote down the untranslated names. Makibishi, those things. And then he's like, see, how you can't now. How are you going to catch up to me when the road is filled with spiky things? And then Goku puts on those Japanese sandals and just, like, runs with them and catches up.
Runs straight through it. And, let's say, like, was that the... Yeah, because that leads them to the, to, like, him going across the lake that were full of piranhas.
I think that's the next episode, actually. I've written all the gags down in order. This is how I this is what I do in my notes. I write down all the gags in order because I feel like it.
Because I wrote down the gags also. Okay, yeah, all right, yeah. Because I wrote down the gags, but I apparently forgot to write down the gag for the piranha pit. Okay, yeah, that is much later. All right, I've seen it now.
But yes, so then basically White tells them to just kind of stop messing around and, for God's sake, just kill him already. So Murasaki actually does the logical thing that somebody should do if you're trying to stop this guy from getting to the top of the tower, and basically just attacks him with his sword, and then Goku responds by doing that with the Yoibo.
The greatest fucking joke in the entire franchise. I don't care how juvenile this makes me sound. The funniest thing I've ever seen in Dragon Ball, possibly in anything, is Murasaki leaping into the air, doing his ninja howl, Goku shoving the Yoibo into the ground, jumping back, and then Murasaki landing ass end on top of the Yoibo and just having it shoved up there and just hopping around in horrible pain.
It really is probably one of the most juvenile jokes that Toriyama ever does. Like, it's probably worse than all the jokes with the Bacterian's body odor.
Yeah, because, like, the Bacterian's body odor jokes are mostly gross. This is just out of complete nowhere. Out of fucking nowhere, just stab in the ass, and it doesn't overextend itself. They don't make like a poop joke out of it or anything.
Oh God, please no.
Yeah, no, like, I mean, they could have like had like one of those Dr. Slump poops hanging off the end of the Yoibo if they wanted to, but Toriyama knew where to restrain himself here, and he jams that up poor Murasaki's ass. And the worst part is, like, the anime adds, like, an extra little bit to it where he's hopping around on all fours and just heaving in pain. And just as he starts to calm down, he, like, turns and he, like, bumps the Yoibo into a tree, which sends him into another fit of pain.
Like, it is one of those, like, just pure kind of almost visceral gags. You could imagine that. Like, you could imagine having a stick shoved up your butt. Like, it would not.
Yeah.
It would not be very nice. Like, you talk about things like later on in the series where it's like, oh, look, a character got, like, their arm broken or their legs broken or whatever. Like, getting a stick shoved up your ass. Like, there was the first time the Dragon Ball suddenly got real.
Right, that was just... That was as visceral of a moment as when, like, Vegeta got his arm broken by 18. That is that level of, oh, Jesus Christ, that looks like it hurts.
And of course, the best part is this all goes like there is a punchline to this. The punchline is Goku sees Murasaki hopping around with the thing on his butt, and then he's just like, "Oh, look, now you're like me. You've got a tail." A tail too.
Oh my God! It's such a simple joke, but it's such a good one. I love it.
Like, yeah, it's good because it's got a it actually has a punchline. It's not even just like hurting Murasaki for the sake of hurting Murasaki. They actually have a punchline of it. It's good. This is why this is good gags. It's like I feel like it kind of this tone kind of came out of nowhere, but it's good gags.
Yeah. So then after that leads us to the actual one-on-one fight, and they actually have pretty like a bit of a fight. And Murasaki realizes that Goku is just too strong. So he's just like, let's do this hand to hand. And then he like just chucks a boomerang blade at him, which comes back around and like clocks him in the back of the head.
And then that's how they end off the episode, which I love.
Yeah. Look. So I have I have a couple things to say about this. First off, Goku's guard was 100% down. Did it have ki? Did he sense the ki? Did he put his guard up at the last second to protect his neck with his ki? Is that how he survived it? Because that should have cut his head off. I'm just saying. Yeah. But, God damn it. I hate me. I hate me. But more seriously though, once again, going back to how the anime kind of depicts things in a darker tone, it ends on this note as a cliffhanger. And then, in the manga, he gets clocked in the back of the head, and then he just, 2 panels later, just sits up. He's like, ow! That was cheap. Like the manga plays it in a completely different tone, where, the anime is just, is this the end of Goku? What will happen? Find out on the next episode of Dragon Ball. And, yeah. My shitty Kyle Hebert impression there.
It wasn't too bad. It's one of those. It's like actually, this is one of those times I actually didn't mind the anime doing it like that because I mean, I feel like there's only so much leverage you can get from someone does a really big attack and it looks like it kills Goku, but then Goku kind of shoves it off because he's inexplicably Goku and is basically completely invincible. Like invincible Goku jokes, they're fun, but sometimes I feel like there's only so many times you can do it because then at that point it's like you kind of stop really believing that anything could legitimately hurt him because then it's all that kind of stuff. So I kind of like that they tried to make this feel like a big deal and not necessarily a gag. So it was one of those times I actually enjoyed it.
I dig it. Once again, it is the anime going for that a bit more of a serious tone than the manga does, which is really weird to think considering what was it, Lance in his latest DVD TV. We were talking about this before.
We talked about Lance.
Yeah, ding! There's our Lance counter. There's our shout out. Go watch Lance's videos; they're good.
And now Lance will watch this. So, hey Lance, how are you doing? How has your day been today?
Yeah, he's actually caught up. I was just like, man, he blew through those fast. But what was it? In his most recent DVD TV, he brings up a Murasaki interview, and then Torishima wanted the staff of Dragon Ball reshuffled because they were being too gag heavy with the Piccolo Daimao arc, and it's just I don't feel that. I never got that tone. And here is a really good example where they're making the manga material a lot darker than it ever was. And it's kind of weird, so that would be a complaint later on from Torishima. That's just oh yeah, the anime staff just isn't getting this.
I think I feel like the that in that interview was more kind of talking about the way that they sort of structure the episodes as opposed to the way that they sort of play up the tone of the episodes. I feel like it's all they still kind of structure it there's going to be a gag kind of a setup payoff kind of thing. I think that's it, but I actually can't remember much of the Piccolo Daimao arc in the anime, so maybe I'm wrong. I don't know, but yeah, that's the end of episode 37.
But yeah, like I said though, it's a good cliffhanger moment. I think it's well executed because we've never seen Goku take something like this specifically, this razor sharp ninja blade whizzes back and clips him in the back of the neck. I
mean, he had an axe to the head in the first arc. He survived that, so.
True. But yeah, I like the way they presented this one. And of course, Goku's just perfectly okay, just ow, 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 leading into the next episode. And, okay, another one of my favorite jokes comes in right after this, where Murasaki runs into his ninja hut, and Goku's, throwing shuriken at him, and he's, using the tatami mats to protect himself. And he runs out of tatami mats and just takes a shuriken to the forehead.
This is the one gag I don't really get. Maybe it's there's some kind of context here, but I'm just why can't he just reuse the tatami mats? Why does he have to use one once and then throw it away and then use another one? And why is he? And why is it saying that he's I should have? It's I only put in 4.5 tatami mats. I should have put in 6, and I'm just so. Wait, you mean you had it for this very situation? Are you telling me that you prepared this in case somebody was going to throw a bunch of shuriken at you? You'd run to the house, then take these tatami mats from the floor, and then use them like you knew this was going to happen? It's the one gag I just don't really get very much.
I mean, I don't know. It's not literally a gag that makes sense if you think about it for more than 5 seconds.
Well, I know,
I just like the idea of him just flipping over these mats to protect himself. He's like, huh, and then shuriken to the forehead. Like, I mean, yeah, he could have easily reused another mat. He just doesn't, because he's flipping them up to protect himself. I don't know why he doesn't. Because, I mean, it's just one of those, the short-sightedness of gag characters in Dragon Ball.
I guess so. I just, yeah, I don't know, just for me, I didn't really understand, like, why you would need to flip up a new one if you've just got, like, a shield there. But that was just, like, that was just what made the gag confusing for me. But anyway,
We get our introduction in the anime to the village chief. Someone who we won't see for a few more chapters in the manga.
Oh yeah, I actually liked this kind of filler scene. I mean, also because like it kind of sort of humanizes him, like it humanizes the village chief. He's basically just like, you know, like he seems like a pretty decent guy kind of sort of thing, and he's just like, he's so kind of upset over what's happening to his people, doesn't even really want to eat. But then it's like, it's just so cute, because it's like then when he hears about the Red Ribbon Army having trouble with this kid, and this kid's apparently going to try and rescue him, it basically just kind of gives him hope, and then he's like, actually, you know, I think I'm going to eat now. It's like, oh, look at this. Goku going around saving this guy is actually affecting people, and actually like doing something for the better, even if he doesn't necessarily succeed. Like, oh, that's cute.
Yeah, I was about to say it's a good little humanizing scene for the chief, considering by the time we get to him, like the manga just kind of uses him as a prop. Like the manga will just kind of use him for like White holding him hostage, and there's gonna be like that one joke of like, just kill me, and yeah, we'll get to that eventually, but. Yeah, but yeah, like this is actually like a really good little humanizing scene. The anime does a good job of like humanizing these characters, because a lot of them, you know, like in the case of Snow, like she doesn't even have a name. But basically, here, like we keep like the anime does keep cutting back to these, you know, like these human characters, these regular everyday people who are caught up in this situation and giving us their perspective on everything, and it's a nice little breakup from the core story. I like it.
Even if it is not necessarily accurate to the manga. I mean, like, in the manga, it seems like the girl's not really necessarily, like, that interested in Goku, and it's, like, it's the mother who seems kind of more concerned over him. So it's kind of interesting there, so, but, you know, different, practically different continuities, sort of.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's what that should be stated, that the anime is a different continuity from the manga. Like, a lot of people will go like, oh, well, this is canon, this isn't canon. Well, no, like, the anime is its own separate thing. And I think that's something that really needs to be stated. It's just like, yeah, because I see that so often where people will be like, oh, well, this doesn't count because it's not canon. Well, if you're talking about the anime, it is all within the anime's continuity, because that's the anime. Like, if you wanted that stuff not to be there, you go and you read the manga or watch Kai, you know.
But even then, Kai has filler and blah, blah, blah.
Right.
God, Dragon Ball continuity is a ridiculous mess, and that's why I don't really care about it too much. So,
honestly, like, because like I've always had no issue separating Dragon Ball's continuity until Super rolled around, and then I got really confused again, because I'm like, is this in the manga's continuity? Is this in the anime's continuity? I don't know anymore.
Because, well, I mean, it doesn't help that there's, like, you know, 3 different versions of different things in Super and different points of it, so it's, like, it's very confusing, but, yeah, like, anyway, next gag! So, Murasaki then puts on these special shoes that he uses to walk on water and cross a lake with piranhas on it. Then, at least this is, I think it's an anime thing, then Goku, he's like, you know, you can't swim this lake because it's got piranhas in it. Goku's like, what are piranhas? And then basically, that's when Murasaki basically stops what he's doing and demonstrates to Goku what piranhas are in great detail, because that's what Murasaki seems to do. It seems to be like his like primary focus is making sure Goku understands what he's doing, and his secondary focus is actually killing Goku.
Right? So yeah, like he does that, and then Goku's like, oh. And then Goku just leaps the damn lake.
Basically.
Just jumps right over it, no problem. And if I remember correctly, this then leads into the ninja split technique.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, so his technique of seemingly splitting into 5 people. And it's, hey, Dion, his ultimate technique is Bushin no Jutsu.
Oh, Bushin no Jutsu?
Yeah, that's what he calls it.
What is...
I mean, I didn't write down what they translated it as, but I heard in Japanese he literally calls it Bushi no Jutsu, as opposed to Kage Bushi no Jutsu. And there you go, that's my Naruto reference. I'm so smart and clever. I'm so funny. Everybody laugh at me.
So yeah, like, okay, once again, the anime taking that darker skewed tone, like, they really build up this technique. Like, you know, like, you see, like, you know, like, everything goes dark, the wind's blowing, like, his aura starts flaring up, his eyes are blacked out, like, shadowed in, and, like, they really kind of, like, build this up. It's like, oh, man, what is this technique he's going to do? And then, like, you just see, like, wow, 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 and it's just like, now there's 5 Murasakis.
And, like, yeah, that's fun.
Yeah, like it's almost like the most Dragon Ball Z-esque moment so far we've had. Where it's just like, there's the power-up.
He's got there was the big serious everything. Yeah, exactly. Mm-hmm. That being said, I love the fact that, like, all of the Murasakis have, like, different weapons, and it is just one with a gun. Like, I just find that hilarious. It's like, you've got all these different weapons, and then there's just a guy with a gun. It's just like...
Yeah, because, like...
Why do they just all have guns?
Because you have, like, one's got, like, a Kurosagawa, one's got, like, you know, the sword, and then, like, they're all carrying some kind of ninja weapon, and then one guy's got a fucking revolver. Like, clearly that was the brother who didn't go to ninja school.
Oh, yeah, basically.
But yeah, so Goku, much like in the manga, doesn't know which one's the real one, and, like, he ends up just, like, the anime adds a sequence where he goes, okay, fuck this, and hides. And he just kind of assesses the situation. Which is an interesting thing for Goku, because it's like the first time you ever see Goku try to, like, think his way through a fight. Where he goes, okay, I don't know what's going on, and he runs off to, like, assess the situation. And he's watching them, and he's just like, he gets freaked out when he sees them talking to each other. He's like, how are the after image techniques talking? And he's just really, really confused. He's just like, did they actually split? What the hell happened? And then we get the reveal, because then we get the reveal that they're actually brothers.
Identical quintuplets, because of course they are. Like, I mean, this feels like a Toriyama twist. Like, oh my god, look, he's split into 5. Like, people can kind of sort of split themselves, sort of like after images, but here he actually split into physical beings. Like, no, there are just 5 of us.
Yeah, no, like, that is such a Toriyama thing, because, like, I'm pretty sure, like, you know, the whole, like, cloning thing is like some sort of ninja myth or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, like, it's gotta be, or else it wouldn't be like a big, like, the start of Naruto, where it's like, oh, you know, you gotta go and create copies of yourself, like. Yeah,
so that clearly has to be, like, a pre-established thing, and then we're identical quintuplets. It's like, oh, Toriyama, you so silly.
And I like how this, like, the way that, like, the whole point of this was basically then Goku responds by fighting them all with the Zanzo-ken. So essentially there's, like, multiple of him too. But then it's like, he's using the Zanzo-ken to make these after images of himself. But it's like, so then it's like when Murasaki realizes that, he's just like, oh god, no, guys, quickly, we better be careful. This guy knows the real Bunshi no Jutsu. Like, Goku's got, like, the actual technique. He's just got the fake one. It's fun.
Right. And then, you know, Tenshinhan will come along later and be like, yeah, no, this is actually a thing you can do.
Yeah, like, I've got the real one.
Right. Oh, so, in between all of this, they actually have, like, a little bit of a cutaway, to Snow's family. And we get a little bit more of that kind of, Snow and her mother are worrying about Goku. And then, like we get, a really nice subtle moment where Snow's father comes home, and she freaks out terrified because she thinks it's a member of the Red Ribbon Army. She thinks that the Red Ribbon Army have come back to her house, but it's just, like, her dad. And she goes from, like, terrified to, like, really excited to see him again. It's a little subtle moment, like, little character moment, but it's one I liked. And then there's just like the dad being like, oh, like I worry about that kid, you know, and we actually get a little bit of well, once again that ominous buildup of Android number 8, where like the dad's like, yeah, like, you know, they had this horrifying monster that's like locked up in their tower. Like, I fear for that child. And
also, yes, it's interesting that you've got this like early cameo of Snow's dad. Do we like? I assume we see Snow's dad in the manga. I can't remember exactly now, but yeah, either it's a character who doesn't show up in the manga, or one who doesn't show up until later. But then it's like you actually see him. It's like, oh hey, right, yeah, Snow does have a dad, and at that point, Snow's dad would come home at night. Also, it does make you realize that Goku's probably been in Muscle Tower there for a while, which is kind of odd considering it doesn't seem like it took him that long to get through everything. But, you know, it's not actually a big deal. Time, the passage of, you know, how quickly time moves in Dragon Ball is obviously incredibly inconsistent, especially when it's like anime and, you know,
right,
whatnot. But, yeah, and so it's, then, yeah, he does all this whole thing talking about this monster who's in this, at that floor, and it basically, yeah, is this build up to the fact that basically, when all of Murasaki's brothers get defeated, he's like, "Oh, okay. You know what? After all this, I've decided I'm not dealing with you. Screw this." And he basically just runs away. And then he opens up this cage for this person, this creation, this big monster thing. This. What do I even call him? Android 8, Cyborg 8, Jinzo Ningen Hachigo?
Yeah, honestly, for simplicity's sake, I'm just gonna go with Android. Because, okay, like, because Jinzo Ningen is one of those things where it's like, it doesn't really have a direct translation in America. I prefer artificial human, but artificial human's such a mouthful to say every single time.
Hey, I mean, that's why Goku basically uses Hachan. He's just like, I don't want to use Jinzo Ningen Hachigo every time.
Yeah. God, yeah, no, that would be horrible. So yeah, I usually just stick with, like, I used to do artificial human all the time, is how I used to refer to it, because that's what the Steve Simmons subs use.
Right. Oh, that is interesting, because yeah, so in the subs we've got for the Dragon Ball, the Clyde Madeline subs call it them cyborg, but then Steve Simmons earlier called them artificial humans. That is a kind of really interesting sub inconsistency there, huh? That's legitimately interesting, because if you'd only just seen the subs, you wouldn't realize that they're like the same thing, like 17 and 18. Yeah, the same as 8, huh?
Yeah, I know, and it's one of the things that really bugs me about the subtitles, because I know for a fact that Simmons subs for the artificial humans had already come out.
Yeah, exactly.
And he went with artificial humans. So by the time Clyde Mandelin got around to doing his subs, like I don't understand why he wouldn't have gone, okay, well, he translated artificial human, I'm gonna stick with artificial humans, not just pick his own bullshit. Because, I mean, you know, once again, you know, translation is, you know, it's an art, not a science. And, but yeah, like, if one guy picked this term, I feel that should be picked for the same thing. Like, because, what was it, there was a manga I was a really big fan of, called Sayonara Zetsubo Sensei. And, they would every few volumes, they swapped out translators. And each translator translated shit their own way. And it made reading that manga a fucking nightmare. Right down to the character's catchphrase. His catchphrase was translated differently from volume, for, like every 5 volumes, the translation for his catchphrase would change. To the point to where I couldn't even tell when they were doing his signature catchphrase or not. And it was terrible. So, yeah, like, I really feel like, you know, consistency like that is important, because it's like, once again, if you've only ever seen the sub, you might not make the connection that Cyborg number 8 and Artificial Humans 17, 18, 19, 20 are all part of the same line.
And 16, especially 16.
Right. Let's say 16 is probably the closest to 8 that we have.
Oh, yeah, basically. And yeah, also, I think one thing about Android number 8, that's what I will say. The thing about Android number 8 is that, yeah, also he looks like Frankenstein's monster. Not Frankenstein, guys. Frankenstein is the name of the monster. Come on, guys. Please, rookie error.
But yeah, no, like the friggin', like, just, yeah, the friggin' translate. Also, did you check the manga to see what he's called in the manga?
I think it was Android, but I can't remember. Hang on, I'll check now.
Mechanical Man.
Oh, yeah.
Mechanical Man number 8.
That's it, yeah. That's interesting as well. Obviously, like, once again, it is a technical way to translate Jinzo Ningen, and it also makes sense as to why Goku wouldn't want to say it out loud every time. But yeah, it's not the same as the they definitely use androids for the manga Z, right? Pretty sure. I think
I never got that far.
I think so.
In the Viz manga.
I might check.
But yeah, so we get like him, and something that's interesting that the anime changed. It's a little thing, but like he's chained up in the anime. Like he has like a chain around his neck, and he has chains around his hands.
Mm-hmm.
And this also kind of like, because I actually had to go back and check it whenever I realized, because I didn't really notice it until Murasaki was unchaining him or trying to unchain him.
Mm-hmm.
And like I had to go back to the manga and double check this, because in the manga there's like this full like pulled out shot of 8 getting out of the cage. He has one hand on top of the cage and one hand to the right or to the left of the cage as he's kind of pulling himself out of it. And in the anime, they do a close-up shot of 8's hand on top, grabbing it and pulling himself forward, and his hand and a close-up of his hand gripping the left side and getting out of the cage. But because they did it in a close-up shot, like, because I was trying to figure out how they were going to make that work, because the chain is too small for him to actually have spread his arms that far apart to do that pose to get out of the cage.
True.
And it's one of those things that the anime kind of sidestep by just having like a close-up shot of his hand on the top, a close-up shot of his hand on the side. So you still get that same feeling of motion of him pulling himself out of the cage without the, wait, how's that chain going across there? Because that chain was a lot smaller whenever you see him, like, standing outside the cage. And it kind of reminded me of, what was it, like, I think it was like the first or second episode of Futurama, where, like, Bender's arms fall off, and they do the close-up shot of Bender picks his arm up, reattaches it, picks his arm up, reattaches it, and Fry goes, how did you do that? And it's just kind of that same moment for me of, like, using close-up shots to portray things that don't make sense.
Oh, interesting. I just checked Viz. So when Trunks starts talking about 19 and 20, he does actually call them Mechanical Men number 19 and 20. So I wonder if they might... I feel like they don't call 17 and 18 that, but they do call 19 and 20 that, so it is at least consistent in some way.
Mm-hmm. Getting back, I guess, to the episode itself. So we find out 8 doesn't want to fight.
Oh, yeah.
8 doesn't want to fight at all. He's a pacifist. He's, he just doesn't want to, he doesn't want to hurt anything. He is the 16 of this arc, where he's this big, bulking, intimidating monster man who just, like, wants to, like, look at birds.
I mean,
and be nice to people.
He's not even really 16. It's like, well, I mean, he's kind of like, 16 is obviously very much inspired by 8, but it's like, the kind of difference is it's much like 8 isn't just a pacifist, but he's also, like, has a very strong kind of sense of right and wrong. He's like, I think the Red Ribbon Army are doing bad things. I don't want to do bad things, like killing people. I think you guys are doing the wrong thing, so I don't want to do anything, and I would rather die than have to do something bad. And it's like, oh, once again, Toriyama twist, like, especially, like, the anime, like, they start off, like, ominous lightning, another Frankenstein reference, most likely, all this kind of stuff, and it's just building to this guy, and this big, intimidating guy who looks like a monster. He's like, actually, I don't like hurting people. I don't want to hurt anybody. And then, then it's actually kind of a very odd thing that basically then Murasaki's like, then he's just like, but listen, you have a bomb inside you, and if I press this button, the bomb will detonate, and then you'll blow up. So you have to kill him, or else you're going to die. But even then, it's like, well, I would rather die than go and kill him. And it's then of course, it's honestly a very strange point of thing to mention. It's also kind of really interesting because once they get to the android stuff, that actually comes back as a plot point, kind of. Not that important of a plot point, but still a plot point, which I think that's a really interesting part of continuity that Toriyama remembered that. But
Toriyama actually remembers things, guys.
He actually remembers things like that. Yeah, and it's odd because it's such a small thing, and it's like it's completely. I mean, it's important for the filler episodes later on, but yeah, it's also like. I guess it's mostly just there to show that Murasaki, even though he's been kind of a comedic villain, is also still kind of a scumbag, and he's like willing to kill this innocent guy, this innocent creation, just because he doesn't want to fight, because he's decided that fighting is wrong. And so then Goku's like, no, Murasaki's gonna hit the button anyway and kill 8 anyway, and then Goku's like, no, don't do it, and he goes and just jumps out there, grabs the remote from Murasaki's hand and just destroys it, and basically just like gives him a look, just like, don't do that. That's the wrong thing to do. Killing some guy just because he's not going to follow your orders.
Yeah, and let me just say that this is like the first legitimate act of heroism Goku has committed. Like this is, because this is almost like out of character for him to be so like, don't you dare do it, I won't let you. Because I mean, he straight up leaps like 30 feet to Murasaki, like uses the Nyoibo, knocks the detonator out of his hand and stomps on it, glaring at Murasaki. Like, he is genuinely pissed that this guy was going to kill someone right in front of him, like, for just not wanting to be a bad person. And like, that is like I'm pretty sure this is like the first time we've really seen Goku, at least as far as like the manga material go, like take like an active part in something like this, where Goku on his own identified a situation as, this is a bad person doing a bad thing to a good person, I'm going to put a stop to it. And
it really is, isn't it? Which is kind of odd, because it's like, if it was like, I almost wondered if they kind of like, I guess the whole thing with the reiterating of, like, the bomb and showing how kind of innocent 8 was, like, they're kind of sort of trying to explain sort of the, like, why this is such a big deal that Goku himself is going to go and act, but it's still kind of, like, something about it just, like, it feels very kind of simple, like just so kind of simple that I am kind of surprised that it elicited such a strong reaction from Goku.
Yeah, I feel that, I think like one of the reasons this actually works is because, Goku has been shown like whenever he helped Lunch way back when he first met her.
Oh, yeah, true, he did do that.
Yeah, he did, but like he wasn't like, at first he was just like, oh, it's just like it wasn't until Kuririn said like, those guys have guns, blah blah blah, and it's just like, oh, well, should we go help her? It's like, no, and it's just like, well, I mean, if they're bad people doing bad things, because that's his Goku's mentality. Bad people doing bad things to good people, I need to stop the bad people to help the good people.
I need to beat them up.
It's a very simplistic mind. Yeah, it's a very simplistic Goku mindset. But this, I feel, is like the first time Goku has ever come to that conclusion on his own. Like, he didn't have to have someone else. He didn't have to have Bulma or Kuririn or anyone else.
Or someone's kind of external factor. Like, there's no benefit to him helping 8. Like, I mean, he doesn't really think that 8's going to be in debt. He doesn't know that he needs his help to get through the rest of the Muscle Tower. So it's just like, he just literally thinks, I think this guy is good, and I think Murasaki is a terrible person for doing this, so I'm going to go and help him. Like, yeah, it is actually kind of interesting. Like, it doesn't really,
Yeah, it's
I guess it's kind of significant.
Development for Goku. I like it. It shows that Goku is becoming a little bit more worldly, a little bit more understanding of the world around him and the people around him, and yeah, it's a good moment.
At the very least, he's becoming a much more active character, and that's always more entertaining to see.
And that's something that they really needed to do, because he is by himself.
Pretty much,
he is the one holding the story together. He doesn't have a supporting cast to build himself off of. Here it is just the Goku show, and Goku really has to carry this narrative. So, yeah, making him a more active participant both works in favor of the story and for his character. So, yeah, this was a good moment to do this in. Like I feel like if it happened sooner, it would have been unnecessary. I feel like this is like a really good character moment for Goku right here. So yeah, then that ends pretty much the Murasaki thing when Goku just takes out Murasaki. And then that leads to the maze filler.
Oh god, yeah, I was like, as this kept going, I'm just like, okay, this is filler, right? Yep, this is filler. And it is such a weird thing of filler because, like, first of all, it basically just kind of makes not much sense because it's like basically then Goku, like, he meets up with Android 8 and he's just like, oh hey, you know, I saved you, you saved me, oh thank you, what's your name? Some Goku, I'm Jinzo Ningonju Hachiko. That's a really long name. I'm gonna call you, well actually no, he doesn't give the nickname until as they're walking through the maze, but like,
yes,
he's just like, you know, oh thank you son Goku kind of thing. He's like, okay, I'm gonna go up to the Muzzle Tower to save the guy. He's like, oh okay, cool. And then it's like, in the manga he basically immediately offers for help, but the anime Goku just kind of runs off and then he goes into the maze on his own, and then the maze is like,
well, if I remember correctly, the manga does do some of the maze stuff.
No,
and
I just check. Oh, I mean, you can check it as well, but I'm pretty sure.
And yeah, because I have it right here, so I'm flipping.
Oh yeah, because I'm pretty sure what happened was like he immediately goes for help, and then like because it's like when they go to the maze floor, then Goku's like, "Oh wow, it's a floor of mazes. Wow, if I didn't have you with me, I would probably be stuck here for ages." And I'm just like, this is just like it's unintentionally really egregious because it's like Goku's like, you know, if you weren't here, if you didn't come here straight away, I would have been stuck here for ages. And then the anime basically just does that. They do the situation where Goku goes to the next floor and Hachan is not there, and Goku gets stuck there for ages because Hachan doesn't show up until like it seems like he's been wandering around there for like 10 minutes, and it's. Ugh.
Honestly, I feel like that line was almost an intentional nudge, wink, wink to the Toei staff. Hey, you could put filler here. I just have them be lost in the maze. Wink, wink.
I do wonder if that is the case because it does seem so like blatant. But yes, right at that point, that's the point where Goku nicknames him Hachan. So
yeah. Okay, here's a question, both in the context of the manga and the anime. How the hell would Goku get lost in a maze that he could just punch his way through? I
mean, what I was thinking is, why doesn't he just, like, jump onto the top of the maze and then, like, start, like, kind of climbing up around the kind of, on the ceiling of it, the walls of it? That's what I was thinking.
Wait, does the maze not touch the ceiling? I
mean, it didn't look like it did.
Okay, because I know at very least in the manga it did. Maybe the anime fucks that up.
Maybe. I mean, it must not have. I was wondering why I was doing that when I was watching the anime. So it clearly must not have, or maybe I wasn't paying that much attention. I don't know. But also, okay. So then basically, when the reason why Goku can't get through the maze in the anime is not just because like it's a maze and Goku's not as bright at mazes, but also that like General White can like see them in the maze and he's purposely like moving all of the walls so like he can't ever possibly find the exit, and it's weird and interesting. I think the most interesting thing about it is like, well, what he uses to control the maze is basically like a literal video game. Like, it has a little, like, sprite head of Goku, and then later of Hachan when they enter the maze, and he has to, like, press buttons to do it. And then when Goku and Hachan get to the next floor, it has a game over screen. And that just made me realize, so this came out in 1987 or something? So, like, video games were actually pretty new at that point. Like, the NES only came out in, like, 85, like, I mean, obviously it must have been much bigger in Japan, and it was still, like, a big cultural phenomenon, but, like, you know, this is, like, really early days of video games, and they've already got, like, a big, like, video game reference, and I just thought that was really interesting, like, historical context. Like, this came out about 87.
I mean, considering like how crude the graphics were, I could imagine that being like an Atari 2600.
I mean, like,
or a ColecoVision.
It could be, but yeah, like it's 87, so it's most likely like an NES or something like that. I think 87, maybe 86, probably 87. I'm not sure exactly, but yeah, It's interesting. Also, it had this really cute moment where so the Red Ribbon Army soldiers show up, and then like Goku's beating a whole bunch of them, and then Hachan like trips one of them, and then he immediately asks if they're okay because he doesn't like violence.
Right.
Doesn't like hurting people.
God.
Like, oh, that's cute.
Yeah, it's a good little filler moment. I like that a lot more than them just wandering around the maze. I will say though, like Hachan being able to get through the maze, how does he know how to do that?
I mean, in the manga, it just implies that because he's been around before, and he's sort of probably been to that floor before, he knows how to get through the maze. But the anime is just like, he figures it out because he's realizing they keep getting into dead ends. He's like, oh, I know, maybe it's the whitest moving things around, and that's why we can never find an exit. And then I do like the way that they kind of handle it, where it's just like, the only way that they could have done it is basically if Goku and Hachan then start like moving independently, and then his like White can't keep up with his speed, like he can't move the things in time if two of them like sort of know what's going to happen. Like that's kind of interesting. But yeah, I think there's kind of reasons, but it is kind of like very oddly convenient.
I mean, yeah, because like Hachan was in a cage. It isn't like he's Murasaki who gets to walk around and be a dude. Hachan like stays in a cage.
I mean, later on he starts saying like he finds a Dragon Ball at some point, so he clearly must have had some kind of freedom at some points to move around. Like
yeah, I guess that is true. Yeah. So yeah, they get him out of the maze. Oh, another little filler scene that I liked with Snow's family. Like it's specifically, I think it's like his mother, or not his, her mother that says, "What will happen to us when they find the Dragon Ball?" Which I think is kind of an interesting question for them to ask. It's just like, what is this evil army gonna do to us once they found the Dragon Ball that they're looking for? I mean, you know, we already know because we've already gotten to that point. We've already seen that part of the story before. Because, you know, they like the Red Ribbon Army's plans was to just kill them all. But like it is kind of like, once again, showing the human characters, showing their specific plight and their worries. Like, not every filler scene has to be about like, oh, gee, I wonder how that poor Goku boy is doing. But just them also kind of worrying about themselves and what the hell's going to happen to them.
I mean, I didn't really think too much about it, but like you got a point. Like it is one of those questions. It does raise questions. Like, yeah, why do they? Obviously, they're using them to help look for the Dragon Ball, but then yeah, what would happen to them after that? And so yeah, then they go to the they finally get it to the final floor. Somehow they, like, it's kind of ominously sort of being like, they sort of skip the 5th floor because the 5th floor is just like a trapdoor. It's in secret, nobody really knows what's in there. It doesn't seem like there's an entrance. And they just go there right up to White, and White's just sitting there being like, oh, hey guys, what are you doing? You know, you could have been really strong. You could have probably joined the Red Ribbon Army if you wanted. I probably would totally do that. You want to join? Goku's basically, I think this is anime only. He's like, do you want to join? And Goku's basically like, no, you guys are like scumbags. Don't want to fight you. And then, I mean, I don't want to be part of you.
Yeah, because I was surprised, because, like, both in the, both in the anime and the manga, they make reference to, like, you know, you could serve in the Red Ribbon Army, but only in the anime does Goku go, I'll never work for you. Like, that's, I don't know. It's, once again, it's Goku making a moral judgment on someone. Like, he has identified these as the bad guys, and he doesn't want to be associated with the bad guys.
Pretty much. Also, a rather interesting thing is that White. Now, I can't remember if this was in the manga as well. And White explains that Android 8 was somebody who they brought him back to life. He'd already died, and they brought him back to life as an android. And it's like, you know, don't you have any kind of like debt to pay us? Like, that's important, kind of thing. And I'm just like, huh. So, I mean, obviously that doesn't seem like it was sort of the case for other androids later on, but here it's sort of like, yeah, like Android 8 was a human who actually died, and they brought him back to life, like, which is kind of like...
I completely missed that line. It must have been when I was typing some notes down. I must have missed that line. Huh. Because that's interesting, because later on we're going to see that he does, like, the inside of him is pretty much all machinery in a couple episodes. So it is interesting that he was a human, at least in this continuity. that he was a human first, which I guess ties back into the whole Frankenstein's monster thing. Frankenstein's monster was a whole bunch of people sewn together. Frankenstein's monster wasn't actually a bad person. He was just misunderstood.
Pretty much, although, I mean, he does some pretty terrible things. You guys have ever read the books? I don't know. I had to read the book once for school, so I remember this. I'm also kind of traumatized because it was my final year of school, and it was like one of those, like, oh, final year of school thing, your final big exams, so you've got to make sure you know this book. Anyway, that is a story that's not really a story that's relevant to this situation. So basically, A tries to tell White to surrender because, hey, Goku is strong, he probably can't win. But then White is actually pretty crafty, and he just presses a button and opens a trapdoor, and they fall through the trapdoor.
Yep. It just drops him in a hole, and cliffhanger ending again.
Oh yeah, okay, one thing I just want to mention before we get to the next episode, okay, I forgot to mention this, but yeah, so why does Muscle Tower even need a maze room?
Yeah, honestly, I don't know why Muscle Tower has a lot of these rooms, because it's like Muscle Tower is set up in a way that's very specifically designed to be invaded. And it's like, if you get through this floor, then you have to go to this floor, and then this floor. That's the thing, like, Goku doesn't even start. It's really weird how they have these floors numbered. It's like, oh, well, this is the third floor, this is the second floor. It's like, Goku skipped, like, half the damn floors by jumping up to the upper platform of Muscle Tower.
I mean, I think he only skips the first floor. I think he has the second floor, and then the second floor was just those random dudes. The third floor was Sergeant Metallic. Fourth floor was Murasaki. Fifth floor was Secret, and then the sixth floor was the top. So
okay, so he only skips the first floor then.
I assume the first floor, inverted commas, is basically just him trying to get past those Red Ribbon Army soldiers in the first place. That's his first floor challenge.
Mm-hmm. All right. Yeah, it's just yeah, because like I said, he skips like the whole bottom platform of Muscle Tower. So I'm like, how many floors did he skip doing that? But I guess one, maybe?
I think so. I'm pretty sure I've got my numbers right here.
So yeah, friggin' Booyan, man. They make him a lot spookier in this episode than he is in the manga. Because once again, it's that dark build-up thing where like the room he is in just feels claustrophobic and dank and disgusting and
filled with bones.
Like it feels like, huh? Yeah, it's filled with bones. Like there's a couple of bones like in the background in the manga, but like in the anime, you just see bones everywhere. And something that's worth noting is in the manga, there's like a human skull and like a femur bone or some shit, just like a regular bone, just kind of sitting there. But like in the anime, there's way more bones, but I don't think any of them were human bones. I think they were all like cattle.
Huh. Yeah, I was thinking that it felt like it was more just like things that they gave to feed Booyan as opposed to like other people would fall into the trap. Like that's what it felt like to me, but maybe it's not, maybe it isn't. I don't know, but yeah, it's
like I feel like there was like some sort of censorship thing where they were like, it's like, they got to make it darker and like a bit creepier, but at the same time, they couldn't have direct implications that this monster head was eating people. So then they had to like not have human bones, so they went with like bulls and stuff and like cattle, like things that they had fed him.
That would make sense. I mean, this is after all, like, there are actually plenty of times where the anime itself actually does have to censor things from the manga. So yeah, and I mean, I guess it is kind of, at the very least, important that they try to make Booyan look intimidating because, I mean, he looks like a Dragon Quest monster.
He does. He just looks like a random. In fact, okay, I was gonna say because I was thinking I'm pretty sure I fought something like him in friggin' Chrono Trigger. Yeah, he's a Toriyama monster. He's clearly a Toriyama monster from like a fantasy series. It's like one of his rejected designs. I'm gonna say right now, I don't like Booyan's design. I don't think he's that interesting looking. He's not horrible, but he's not that interesting looking. And I don't like this episode. It's so boring. Booyan is not an interesting challenge for them to overcome. It's not a funny fight. It's not like a particularly engaging fight because it's always just Goku attacks Booyan. Booyan's really bouncy. and he kind of gets ricocheted off of him, and that's about it. And just rinse and repeat until Goku figures out how to beat him.
I mean, I like it because there is a clear challenge and in a clear way that Goku actually overcomes the challenge. And in fact, there's actually kind of a surprising amount of almost like unintentional, like sort of, you know, foreshadowing and flashbacks and whatnot, in that it's like he's trying to think of ways to get rid of, like, you know, basically the problem is Booyan is so like soft and flabby that all of his attacks just like fly right off of him. So he's like, find some way to make him harder. And then he remembers that the dialogue that Snow told him when he woke up, that he was just all frozen. And he's like, when you're frozen, that your body gets all like hard. And he's like, oh, frozen, that's it, I'll freeze him. And that's what he gets into, this whole idea of like, okay, I'm going to go and punch a hole in the wall so the cold air can go in and freeze him. And even then, it's like, I'm not going to get frozen myself because I'm going to go and hide in 8's jacket. And that will go and, like, keep me warm, at least temporarily, until Booyan is frozen. And then when I freeze him, my attacks will actually be able to do damage. I do like it. Like, there's a surprising amount of, like, forethought or accidental thought that went into that. It's not just like Goku just randomly pulls something out of his ass. Like, even if it is technically kind of that, like, there are enough elements in there for me to believe that it's like, this is something that kind of makes sense depending on what the character is at the moment and what he knows. And it does feel like also, like, you know, it is one of those moments that, like, Goku legitimately does think of something on the fly and it works. And it's, like, actually, like, legitimately, oh, you know, this is a really kind of interesting idea and one you wouldn't necessarily think of. So I don't really think that the build up, kind of the Booyan fight, I think the build up goes a bit too long, but I actually do like the payoff.
Yeah, it's all right. Like I said, like I don't care for the episode as a whole because I feel it just goes on too long. But I do like little things like him, like, you know, figuring out a way around Booyan and, like, you know, like, oh, like, you know, I have to freeze him. Like, that stuff was cool. I feel like there's just way too much of him, like, and it's weird, too, because it's not even, like, a really long sequence. Like, I mean, there isn't even, like, that much, like, padding as far as that goes. You know, because, I mean, this is, like, 2 chapters worth of material for one episode. And, like a lot of the build-up is just mostly, like, the reveal of Booyan. Like, you know, like, him, like, eating bones and, like, you know, him kind of, like, sleeking out of the shadows and, like, you just seeing his eyes glowing, like, yellow or green, like in the shadows. And it's a lot of really cool atmospheric build-up that I really liked. But then once you actually get to, like, the fight, I'm just like, yeah, it just doesn't do it for me. Like, I mean, it's no Bacterian fight. I mean, it's way better than that, but yeah, it's one of those fights I don't have a lot to say about because it is pretty straightforward of everything Goku does bounces off of him. Goku recalling, like, oh, like, well, I need to, make him not so bouncy. So he, you know, freezes him because he had learned that earlier. So, you know, and that's, like I said, it's a cool callback. It works. But yeah, I just feel like the episode as a whole was meh. I like the animation. I'll say that much.
You know, the animation's good. It's like, I mean, it's one of the things, like, you know, you gotta have the good, well, I mean, it's nice if you have good animation, like because you have to, you know, actually sell the idea that this character is completely invincible to your attacks and is, like, so, like, you have to show that he's bouncy. Like, that's kind of hard to animate. Like, you have to actually really kind of think of how to do it. And I think it works pretty well.
Yeah, because I was gonna argue, like, is it really that hard to portray someone as bouncy? And then I remembered Botamo. Yes, it apparently is hard to portray someone as bouncy. Anyhow,
I mean, I like that they're basically pretty similar kind of characters in this. Like, they're just they're so bouncy that, like, no techniques work on them. And once again, it's one of those things where, like, that's just. Can I just say, that's just not fair. Like, you can't just, like, having a character who's, like, practically invincible to your punches and kicks and your Kamehameha, like, that's not fair. That's not fair to anyone, like, having a character invincible to everything.
Speaking of his Kamehameha, where did that bounce off to?
That is a good question.
Because that was like something I was thinking about when that happened. I even wrote it in my notes. I was like, where did the Kamehameha bounce off? Because like we see it like hit him, and it like flies past Goku off into the background, and it's like, where did that go? That room's small. And we're gonna see that Goku can like kick and punch his way through that wall. So
it hit the ceiling,
yeah,
Zeon, okay? It hit the ceiling. It hit the ceiling, totally. Did not hit the wall.
Oh, okay. The ceiling is like reinforced steel, but the walls are brick.
No, I mean...
that Goku can punch through.
I mean, no, because Goku did go through the ceiling as well. Maybe just punched the... It went through the ceiling, but then the ceiling's not cold, so it didn't make any cold air come through. I don't know. I am coming up with headcanon answers here, so don't take anything I say seriously, but yeah, maybe. I don't know. Also, something I found interesting on this episode, like, they've kind of sort of shown it before, but I think this episode also really shows it, like, Android 8 isn't just, like, a pacifist. He's actually, like, scared of Booyan, and he's, like, so scared he doesn't want to fight. Like, he's actually, like, scared. Like,
mm-hmm.
It's not just, like, you know, he chooses not to fight. It's like, he actually doesn't want to. It's like, it's something a little bit different, I think, and it's important kind of when we get to stuff next episode, I think, kind of. I don't know. Like I said, I kind of do like the fact that, like, also that 8 is here, especially in this fight, because, like, it kind of does give Goku somebody to interact with, especially when you got, like, 8 being like, oh, Goku, no, we're not going to make it, we're all going to die here, and he's like, that's not true, you know, like, you can't give up now, kind of thing. It's like, this is why it's fun to have Goku with supporting cast members. You can learn more about him by the way he interacts and bounces off other people.
You know, it would have been cool if Hachan had just stayed a part of the main cast, went on Goku's adventure for the rest of the Dragon Balls.
But he doesn't like fighting, though.
Well, I mean, he could get over it. He could be like, you know, maybe being around Goku teaches him that, like, fighting doesn't always have to be violent, and, you know, he could just do it for sport and, you know, competitive things. Show up at a tournament or two. Might be cool. I mean, he's a charming character. I like him. I just kind of wish we had seen more of him.
He's very cute. Even if he is basically like, he's kind of like, he feels like sort of the template for kind of like Android 16 and also for Gohan. So he's interesting. Like, he gets his big moment kind of next episode. But yeah, like, I just kind of, you know, just seeing this, like, almost kind of made me wish that, like, some of the Muscle Tower I wonder if Muscle Tower would have been improved if we did have, like, another character with him. I mean, like, the stuff with Goku and Android 8 is, like, so important that, like, isn't Android 8, like, the big emotional core of the 10th anniversary movie?
He really, really is.
I don't know, I think I'm going to talk about this more when we actually get to talking about more about Android 8, but it's like, I do kind of wish that he was there for more, and he actually had done more, because, like...
Yeah, because he's awesome in the 10th anniversary movie. You know, like he has, like, the big hero moment to save Goku, and he gets to play the Kuririn of that movie, where Goku gets his big power-up, and, like... It was cool. I kind of wish he could have gotten a little bit more Hachan. Speaking of him being adorable, though, Goku hiding in his jacket.
Oh, I know.
Was great.
So cute.
It was the cutest thing in the world. I loved it. Like, just him going like, I'm really cold, aren't you cold? He goes, the temperature doesn't affect me. Well, it affects me. And he jumps into his jacket. It was a great little moment. I love that.
Adorable.
Yeah. And like I said, though, I mentioned the animation earlier. And, like, the animation, it's interesting because, like, it's not necessarily like it's super on model. It's not necessarily like it's super on model, but it's drawn well enough, and it's really, really expressive. Like all of Goku's facial expressions and, like, his animations and stuff, and even Booyan's animations were, like, just really expressive and had a lot of energy to them.
And Hachan as well. Hachan as well has some pretty expressive expressions. What am I even saying?
Yeah, just, I don't know. I like the way that they were animated in this episode, because it was weird, too, because it wasn't, like, really fluid animation. The animation was a little bit jerky, like there were frames missing, but it allowed them to snap back and forth between expressions, and it gave it, like, a really unique look, and I really liked just like I said, like, how the anime conveyed, like, you know, the expressions of the characters, their movements. It just, it had a really nice look to it overall. That and just like the aesthetic of Booyan's, little dungeon cage thing, his little dungeon room. Like it had like its own dank, creepy atmosphere to it. It was good stuff. Like it was really, really good stuff that I liked.
Yeah, so that's basically the fight. Then Goku was like, okay, the fight's over now. So he basically just jumps up and like headbutts his way up through into the next floor. So that trapdoor thing, like Goku just gets through that, and he's just like, okay. And then he just like gets out the Yoibo, and he brings Android 8, Android 8 out with him. And then while he's while he's doing that, White's like, the kid's right there, and he shoots him, and he's just like, nothing happens. And
Goku, with his guard completely down, takes that bullet. I know where you're going, Gabby, and I'm right there with you. That was total bullshit. It was the worst thing. Such horrible inconsistency. Goku's like, he even says his guard is down, and he shot him, and it didn't even leave a scratch.
Believe it or not,
God, Toriyama's such a hack.
Believe it or not, that's not the thing I was going to say, but ding. The thing I was actually going to say was, I just found hilarious was then the part where White's like, those did actually hit you, right? And Goku's like, yeah,
oh, right.
And they hurt a lot. He's just like, oh, okay, This might be difficult.
Yeah, by the way, I do want to reference that, like, in a more serious tone for everyone who's just like, oh, Goku took bullets in Dragon Ball. Yeah, they still hurt him. Like, they're not gonna, like, impale him. He's not gonna, like, take any sort of damage. They're still gonna sting. They're gonna, like leave a scrape or something, like. So, yeah, I don't know. I think this is still fairly consistent. Like Dragon Ball Super, how Dragon Ball Super keeps doing that. Like, I think it's consistent enough. Like, if your guard is down, you're not expecting it, you're not really in a combative state, yeah, like, you get little scrapes and bruises. It doesn't have to, like, put him in any kind of mortal danger, but, that's how, like, I feel like it's still pretty consistent. Because people love harping back to these moments. And being like, see, why does Goku take this bullet here, but then in Dragon Ball Super, he it hurts him. It's like, well, it hurt him then too, you jackass. But yeah, I don't know. Like, as someone who is very critical of Dragon Ball, that is something, like, especially, like, because, I am known for that guy who's really critical of Dragon Ball Super, and I don't even complain about that. I'm like, yeah, no, that feels pretty consistent with how the show's been up until this point. Mm-hmm.
I mean, you're still allowed to complain, just no, it doesn't bother us, basically. And
pretty much.
Is that pretty much it?
And I think, yeah, that is it. That is where we wrap things up.
Alright, let's go on to comments. Alright. Okay, yeah. First one I just needed to do, so this was a response to something that we asked in the question from Grant Cameron. So they're saying about how my knew Goku's name. They did show they had security cameras and microphones in the jail cell when they were trapped in the castle. So they must have been hearing them, like, and that's how they found out what Goku's name was.
Yeah, honestly, that's a pretty good workaround. I still think it's interesting that they would remember some kid's name that they ran into once. Because, like, I don't remember people's names I worked with for, like, a year. Like, as soon as they leave my job, I'm like, whatever. Like, so, like, for them to remember, like, the name of some kid among a group of people, and, like, a year and 15 days later, they still remember that kid's name. But yeah, at least there is an in-universe explanation that, yeah, they did have security cameras, they were being monitored, so yeah, I can buy that at very least.
Yeah, anyway, next one, I just need to mention this point, is one by Mirror System, says, by the way, love your podcast, blah, 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 anyway. So they actually suggested a Dragon Ball related topic we could put in a podcast, a future podcast, and they said it was the passing of time in Dragon Ball, which is something that I'm just quoting it now, which is something I haven't seen other long-running shows do well or even at all. Naruto seems to be doing it, but I don't watch it, so I can't know. And I mean, in every single aspect, from the constant increase of power levels, the casual way in which characters come and go as they are relevant but then become irrelevant, moving from mostly rural settings in early Dragon Ball to more urbanized environments as Goku grew older, and even the kids that the protagonists have also seemed to fit, with the show following Gohan as he grew up and forgetting about Goku's friends, because in real life, it's rare for a kid to be friends with his father's friends, and it's something I think even GT carried on quite well. I don't know, I'd just like to see your thoughts on it, because I've seen almost no one mention it, and I really hope it's not just a random thought I had, because it seems like there's a lot of thoughts and inspiration put into it.
Honestly, that is a pretty cool point. And that is something that has crossed my mind, because that's one of the things I do like about Dragon Ball, is how we do get that progression. Like, you know, Dragon Ball starts, Goku, age 12, and by, like, GT, he's in his 50s. And hell, even by, like, the end of Z, I think he's, like, in his late 40s. So, yeah, like, I mean, like, I've always appreciated that about Dragon Ball, and how it, you know, progresses, like, as the characters come and go, the power scale for the most part. But yeah, no, like they make a really good point. And what's your thoughts on it?
Oh yeah, no, I actually do kind of find it fascinating. Like, in particular, like, I think the reason why I found, like, Boruto so interesting, well, isn't not also just because of, like, the way that time passes, but also because Boruto is different to, like, Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z, because Boruto seems to be kind of like a sort of soft reboot of the series, because they basically kind of start from a new generation, basically start the power levels from scratch, where in Dragon Ball, even when Gohan is the protagonist, like, it starts from the conception that everyone is already basically Super Saiyan 2 level anyway, so things are still moving forward, and you have, like, Goten and Trunks are already starting with, like, a massive leg up from everyone else, because they've already got Super Saiyan, you know, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So
yeah, because honestly, I can't think of, like, another shonen that really carries on, like, a continuity like this. Because usually, whenever you get arcs in, like, a shonen anime, they're usually pretty, like, tightly back to back. There's usually not much downtime in between them, and even if there is a passage of time, it's usually kind of a superficial passage. Like, oh, it's been 6 months since this happened. It's like, well, I mean, not much has changed in that 6 months. Everyone's still kind of where they were since the last big plot point happened. But yeah, with Dragon Ball, though, yeah, like, you know, after the Red Ribbon Army arc, Goku's going to come back for the 22nd tournament. He's going to be noticeably taller, regardless of how people want to ignore the fact that Goku did get taller during that time frame, because people keep wanting to say Goku didn't get taller until the 23rd tournament. No, he got taller in the 22nd. He's noticeably taller. He's going to come back noticeably taller again for the 23rd.
Well, much more noticeably taller.
Yeah, and honestly, he's not even going to be done growing, because because like even by the beginning of Z, he's even taller.
I was gonna
and
say.
That's where he kind of peaks. Even like Z is where he peaks in his height. Where like the beginning of the Saiyan arc, he's now like the same height as Yamcha. Where before, like in the 23rd tournament, he was only shoulder height to Yamcha. He was the same height as Bulma was in the 23rd tournament. So Goku, like, we're actually going to see, like, his age and development. Something like Naruto, though. Naruto starts off as a teenager, then we, like, time jump.
I think he's like,
is he 12?
Yeah, I think he starts off as 12, and then it's like about a year.
Okay, so he's a preteen. So he's a preteen, jumps to teenager, and then we'll jump to adulthood. And that's only like 3 jumps. And Boruto is pretty much picking up exactly from that last jump. And as you put it, like, it's a soft reboot. You know, it's about these kids, the power levels have all dropped back down, and it's about their adventures and their stories. Yeah, there's all these god tier characters in the background that are doing things, but they're not interfering with the kids' stories.
But yeah, no, I do like the passing of time in Dragon Ball, the fact that, like, it does feel like the characters are growing older and everything moving in their lives. I think that's it's like one of those things in Dragon Ball when I see it, and it's just like, it just gives me that kind of like, just like that warm, like, comforting feeling when you just see that, like, just see, like, the history that all these characters have come together. In particular, I think, like, the visuals for the ending for the 2008 special, where it has, like, Goku, it shows up, like, Goku's, like, family and how Goku's family kind of grows. So it's first it's like just Goku, and then you have, like, Goku and Chi-Chi, and then you've got, like, Goku and Chi-Chi and, like, young Gohan, then you have, like, then with, like, Goten and, like, kind of, like, teenage Gohan, like Videl, and then you have like everyone, like like Octane as well, and like Mr. Satan, and you've got all these other people, and it's like that idea where it's just like not only does all this stuff actually happen, like all these different moments in the characters' lives, but you've actually seen them all. Like sometimes there are big time jumps where you kind of wish that you'd sort of seen what happened to those points, like in between Cell and Boo. I'm looking at you. I've always wanted to see that, but like it is just interesting, you know, like you've seen Goku grow up, and then Gohan kind of sort of grow up as well. Not really Goten, but you know, you've seen all these characters.
We got a time jump of him growing up. Okay, see, now that you mentioned that, all right, now I have to bring this up because I was kind of biting my tongue on it. I'm going to bring up Super because okay, Super is doing that thing that I was kind of mentioning before, where like every single story arc is just back to back to back to back, and you know, we're not getting that progression of time anymore because it's really just shoving itself in this one little time frame. It's not letting itself go beyond the manga. Everyone keeps saying, "Oh, it needs to go past the end of Z. It needs to go past the end of Z."
It's not going to.
I don't think. Yeah, I don't think it's ever going to. Like, I never thought it was, and I don't think it ever will. Danny keeps saying that it needs to happen. That, you know, Danny wants that to happen, and I think he believes it will happen eventually. I think a lot of people think eventually it's going to happen. I'm like, we're on our 5th friggin' arc of this series, and it still hasn't happened. So, but yeah, like, you know, talk about that progression of time, you know, like, you have, like, and this has been a big sticking point for me, Goten and Trunks are still the exact same height they were back in the Majin Buu arc, and they're, like, 15 now, or, like, 14. Like, they're between, like, the ages of 12 and, like, 15. And they're still the exact same height as they were when they were 7 and 6. Or 7 and 8. So, it's...
I mean, there has been, there has been some actual progression. In particular, like, Pan and Bra. Like, you had, like, Pan being born, like, start at Battle of Gods. Then you had, like, her being a baby. Then you had, like, her being in some kind of, being more sort of relevant in arcs and kind of, like, having her be able to walk and stuff like that. Then you have, like, Bra being born for this tournament as well. So, like, that's one thing at the very least, but, like, obviously it's a different kind of, like, idea where it's just, like, everything's just kind of, like, everything feels like it's more kind of, like, the arcs are all kind of, like, leading to each other as opposed to, like, arcs being, like, these sort of different adventures where they show up and come back after a few years and then there's something else shows up kind of thing.
Yeah, it's just I just haven't really appreciated how they've been mostly it is mostly just Goten and Trunks because they're still drawn like they're 7 and 8 and they're still written like they're 7 and 8. Like, people still treat them like little kids. Like, they're really, like, yeah, they're drawn like really little kids and everyone treats them like really little kids. Like, oh, we can't have them in the Tournament of Power, but you could have a 9-year-old Gohan in the Cell games.
I mean, like, there was, like, to be fair, I think there was an actual, like, there was a difference there. It was, like, lack of experience because, like, Gohan was young, but he actually had been in all those fights before, like, a lot of them, whereas Goten...
Okay, so you can't have them in the Tournament of Power, but you can trust the fate of the world for them to defeat Majin Buu.
Because Goku was being an asshole and basically and then shirking responsibility.
Okay, like, of all the answers you could have given, that was the best one. Like, just because he's an asshole. Alright, you got me. I can't argue that. So, do you have any other comments you wanted to read?
Mirror System also did one talking about power scaling and how... I'll read it even though I'm not necessarily caring much about this debate, but you might. So, essentially, I'm not really a power scaler, but I think they have a point that without consistency at all attention gets completely lost. See what happened to the airing sequel whose name is forbidden in this podcast. Well, I mean, we've said it enough times. It's Dragon Ball Super. It's not forbidden anymore. I just like to say it's forbidden, but that doesn't stop anybody.
But pretty much so. Yeah, I have read this though, but yeah, it's pretty much just them backing up their statement on this one. Yeah, because it's a pretty long comment. But yeah, I get what they're saying, and I agree with that is something that I agree with, because I feel like without consistency, if you don't have an idea of how strong a character is, you don't have a sense of the tension. You don't know, like, where characters sit, so you don't know what the stakes are. And if you don't know what the stakes are, you have, it, like, at least for me, it keeps me from having an investment because I don't know where these characters fall. How about you? Like, how do you feel about the whole, like supers, power scaling, and how, like, characters are just as strong as they need to be for any given situation?
That part I don't really care about too much, mostly just because it's never something that I really care too much about beforehand, and, like, for me, I feel like it's sort of like, when I can tell that the power scaling ideas are kind of in conflict with them trying to take an interesting story and tell an interesting story, and like there's kind of not a way that they've been able to figure out a way to do both, I'm going to take the more interesting story over the consistent power scaling. That's why I probably like the Dragon Ball Super anime more than the Dragon Ball Super manga, because even if maybe the power scales or whatever make more sense in the manga, I just don't find the story as interesting, whereas the anime, sometimes it feels like I have got no idea what the power scaling is, but the story is interesting. It's also my defense for the Genki Dama Sword. The Genki Dama Sword doesn't make any sense power scaling wise, but it's really damn cool, and it's a story, and it's them trying to make a kind of conclusion to a theme of characters, so that's why I prefer it, kind of thing.
Right. See, like, in the Tournament of Power, oddly enough, I stopped caring. I'm like, whatever, you have said that these characters are trained off screen and are somehow stronger than they should be, fine. I'll buy it. What I have a problem with is more of like, when like the Goku Black stuff was some of the most irritating stuff, because they would like leave, come back, and like characters would just be like characters that were now struggling in certain fights are now excelling in fights, and it kept going back and forth. And there was no consistency. So I'm like, well, wait, like, are they as strong as these guys? Are they weaker? Because last time it felt like they were getting their ass kicked.
I do remember that, like the part where Vegeta shows up and then like starts randomly beating up on Goku Black, because I guess he trained, but then it's like Goku. The problem is then Goku Black doesn't seem to really kind of react at all. Like, he doesn't seem really kind of scared that Vegeta suddenly seems like he's beating him, and then it's like, wait, what? There is. The problem was, like, it just didn't feel like anything, like, there was any kind of... That was kind of a problem twofold, because, like, on the one hand, like, it didn't really feel like anybody's power was making any sense, and on the other hand, it didn't really feel like there was any kind of story. It was just people mindlessly getting beaten up.
Yeah, it was just, like, we wanted to have these two characters have a fight scene where this character's winning, because it really felt like it was being written episode to episode, and the person who was writing the next episode wasn't checking on what the last person wrote. So, yeah, like, it became this weird inconsistency thing, and, because at least with the Tournament of Power, I think a lot of the lower tier characters are way stronger than they have any business being, but at least I do have a better idea of what's going on there, as opposed to, like, the Future Trunks arc, where, like, Trunks has now went from getting beaten by a base form Goku Black to now, like, holding his own against Black and Zamasu. And I'm like, okay. And yeah, it was just weird, like, how they kept doing that. And just, like, from episode to episode, it kept changing around. And that's probably the worst, I think. That's where I really felt the power scaling narratively was a problem, because it wasn't in service to the story. It wasn't in service to anything other than, wouldn't it be kind of cool if we did this fight? And, like, yeah, like, cool shit without substance is meaningless to me.
Yes, I mean, it's like, even with stuff like, I think the kind of justification they tended to have for a lot of that was just kind of rage boosts, but like, in that, like, that's like a thing that, like, Goku Black was specifically kind of saying that the characters were actually getting, so even though I don't really think that's that's a kind of a more sort of lazy way of doing it, but... God damn it.
You get a rage boost, and you get a rage boost.
Everyone gets a rage boost. And I just wish we could have this comment section and not just have it just kind of just somebody bringing up Dragon Ball Super and then we have to mention it. No offense, guys, but like, I just don't care enough. I'm just not interested enough in talking about why Dragon Ball Super sucks. It's just... If I want to do that, I'll go somewhere else to talk about that.
Well, I mean, we're not even just talking about why Dragon Ball Super sucks. This is more of talking about, like, just, you know, like, specifically, I mean, this topic of power scaling and, like, how it, you know, can negatively impact the story in the case of, like, you know, the Goku Black fights.
Yeah, I guess.
You know,
I don't know.
I mean, because, I mean, at no point are we going, like, Super's garbage, blah, 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 because, I mean, even I think Super has its merits.
Yeah, I guess so. I don't know. This is... I don't even know what I'm saying anymore. Are there any other comments? Like, it's like, Creeperman129 was playing up to the sarcastically attempting to power scale thing, and he was like, I think this was the person who said before that they were actually a power scaler as well, but they're joining in the sarcastically attempting to power scale comment. Zeon, we're converting everyone. Are you happy?
Yes. Yes. I want everyone to be as cynical as I am in this fandom.
No, don't do it. Don't give in to the cynicism. Come on, guys. I'm the good angel.
By the time I'm done, everyone's gonna be an alcoholic.
Alright, guys, yeah, if you're ever wondering, you can just have, like, me and Zeon on your shoulders, and, like, I'm being like, guys, don't give in to the hate, and Zeon's like, yes, embrace it.
The hate will make you stronger.
You got any comments?
No, not really. I mean, this is kind of, I would say this week was, pretty light on comments. Honestly, the next episode also, the comments weren't that impressive either. Guys, if you want us to read comments, you gotta give us good comments to read. Just saying, because a lot of these are just kind of,
I was going to say, maybe people have stopped going to the end of the comment section, so they kind of sort of forgot that they can ask questions. Maybe they have no questions. Like, I mean, I know if I had somebody who I thought was kind of cool, and then I'd be like, oh, you can ask them anything, I would have lots of trouble coming up with questions. Like, when I get to, like, panels and stuff, when I get to, like, panels and stuff, I can never think of questions, because I'm just like, either I know the answer to this, or I think that they know the answer to this, and this is a stupid question.
Yeah. But I mean, you know, I guess it's kind of good for the podcast, because then we get to keep it under 2 hours. Like this one. This one's actually going to be under 2 hours.
Oh, thank God. Still over an hour and a half, though.
Hey, we're making progress.
Progress. Oh, God. Like this literally is us. We're trying to learn to not spend 2 hours talking about filler. Like, I wonder if we're going to get over that mark, that time limit.
Oh, I'm sure. Once we get to, like, the Piccolo Daimao stuff, you're not going to get me to shut up.
Oh,
if we have, like, a good tension, if we get, like, I know there's at least, like a couple of Tension Han episodes where I'm going to go and go and go about how much I love them.
That's true. So, I mean, you're lucky. I probably won't ever get... Oh, that's not true. When we get to another Krillin episode, I'm probably going to keep going on and on. But, like... Yeah. But, like, definitely, like, when we get to, like, Saiyan Kid Gohan filler, you'll have to rein me in, I think.
Oh, no, because I'm not going to shut up either. Those are going to be, the 3-hour episodes.
The 3-hour marks talking about Toei filler episodes, definitely.
Yeah, because I could see that, because I'm sure I'll have a lot to say about, like, just all the filler. Like the Princess Snake stuff, the Gohan training... The friggin' pendulum room with in the Heavenly Realm training.
Oh God, that we really would be talking for ages.
Yeah, there's so much cool shit there. It's like the coolest filler ever.
We would be talking.
It's like the last time Dragon Ball filler was really cool, outside of the Great Saiyaman, but the Great Saiyaman is cheating.
Oh God, yeah, that will be interesting. But you know, whatever. We're not going to get to it for 2 years. It's okay. We don't need to think too much about it.
Right. And hopefully next week we'll actually have a new episode. Who knows?
Who knows? Like I said, it's mostly my fault, so everybody blame me. But other than that, yeah, whatever. It's okay. At this point, just don't necessarily expect things to be consistent, because we realized that we're on very thin wires on what and when we can do it. So. Yeah, but we'll do
plus,
it. We'll try.
Gabby, they're Dragon Ball fans. They're used to a lack of consistency. But
I thought you were going to say you're the Dragon Ball fans. They're used to waiting forever for something to happen.
That too.
On that note, I think that's a good place to leave off. So I guess we'll see you guys next time. See ya.
Bye.